Rodanthe, North Carolina, a serene village on the Outer Banks, long cherished for its natural beauty and coastal charm. But here, where the Atlantic Ocean meets fragile barrier islands, nature is proving to be an unstoppable force. Since 2020, 11 homes in Rodanthe have collapsed into the Atlantic Ocean, victims of relentless erosion. It started in May 2020 with a home on Sea Oach Drive. In February 2022, this house on Ocean Drive collapsed on a calm winter day. During a multi-day nor'easter, this house came down a few months later in May on Ocean Drive. And then just hours later, a neighboring home came crashing down during that same storm. This was the only home to fall down in 2023. It came down on East Point Drive, but things really started picking up in 2024. In May, this house fell on Ocean Drive, the fourth home to fall in that one street, and the sixth in the entire village. A few months later in August, the sea claimed this home on Corbina Drive. A month later, it was this home on Kohler Court that collapsed in the early morning hours. And then later that night, the neighboring home fell too. 4 days later, another home on GA Kohler Court collapsed, the third one on that street. And then in November, the ocean took this home on Surfside Drive. I've traveled to Rodanthe several times over the last few years to report on the shifting sands and homes. And this is what people on the Outer Banks are saying.
There's something about waking up every morning. You know, the sunrise and the sound of the waves. It's perfect.
It's easy for Cindy Dowdy to appreciate the beauty of her backyard. It's harder to come to terms with what that backyard has become.
But the waves are coming up closer and closer and closer.
The ocean took 3 of her neighbors' homes last year, so Dowdy now is taking action. She paid $150,000 to have her Rodanthe home moved an extra 100 feet away from the ever-changing coastline.
There was really no choice. We wanted to save it. I mean, it's our home. And we could never replace it.
This is our driveway, but it's 4 feet under the sand.
Jeff Carroll bought this beach home just a year ago. Now he's also paying to have it moved.
I love the location. I love that it's right on the water, but it shouldn't be this right on the water.
Taped, and we'll show it later.
Carroll and Dowdy join a chorus of Rodanthe residents calling for beach nourishment. It's when sand is dredged from miles offshore and pumped onto the beach. Dare County spent almost $72 million last year on beach nourishment in Southern Shores, Kitty Hawk, Kill Devil Hills, Nags Head, Avon, and Buxton, but not Rodanthe.
Why not Rodanthe?
We're not turning our back on them. We just have major issues and processes that we have to go through in order to certainly make this come to fruition, if at all.
Dare County Chairman Bob Woodard says that beach nourishment is not out of the question. He called a town hall last month to talk it over. Hundreds attended in person and online, driving home the urgency of the moment.
This is going to affect not just Rodanthe, but the entire Hatteras Island.
Sorry, I just got myself caught off by thinking about my home.
The county is waiting on the results of a feasibility study right now. Woodard says the main hurdle is money.
We're estimating right now that Rodanthe's, if we do a project in Rodanthe, would cost about $30 million.
Are you willing to pay more in taxes to get beach nourishment done in Rodanthe?
Without a question. Right away, let's do it.
You don't hear people often say, raise my taxes.
No, you don't. But you hear me saying it.
But Rodanthe is home to just 200 people. The tax base is so small, the county manager estimates it would take decades to raise enough money for the project. Some fear by then,
I think it's going to get wiped off the map.
the town could be gone.
If you lose Rodanthe, you lose all of Hatteras Island.
So let's talk more about beach nourishment in Rodanthe. People living there say something needs to be done. But one study found a renourishment project would cost millions more than expected.
On the eroding coastline of Rodanthe, the problem is obvious, but finding the money for a fix is not.
Did this report tell you anything you didn't already know?
It was $10 million more expensive than what we guessed at the time.
Dare County Manager Bobby Alton reacts to this new feasibility study from Coastal Science and Engineering. It found a beach nourishment project in Rodanthe would cost $40 million. That's just to dredge sand from the ocean floor to replenish almost 6 miles of beach. It would require maintenance every 5 years. costing about $175 million over 30 years.
We don't have the dollars in our fund balance to afford to do this project or to maintain it into the future.
We will have this.
In January, Rodanthe residents packed this town hall meeting to call for beach nourishment. Since that meeting, another home collapsed into the ocean in March, the fourth to fall in a year. Other vulnerable homes still straddle the eroding coastline as county leaders try to find the funds for a fix.
But if projects are going to be done in Rodanthe, there's going to have to be some other funding source to help us do the project.
No doubt, people on the Outer Banks are getting creative to coexist with rising sea levels. At one point, Dare County commissioners voted to close a small street in Rodanthe. That allowed homeowners to move their homes closer to the street and further from the ocean. It's clear Rodanthe isn't giving up without a fight. But one Dare County commissioner told me on the edge of the sea, it's clear who has the upper hand.
On Seagull Street in the Outer Banks town of Rodanthe, waves batter beachfront homes. Wooden stilts bear the brunt of an ocean creeping ever closer.
If you're going to stand up there with your hand out and say, back, I say, to the Atlantic Ocean, you're going to lose.
Dare County Commissioner Danny Couch represents this part of the island where beach erosion is an immediate concern, especially for these 12 homes on Seagull Street.
How much longer can these homes last where they stand today?
On a 3 to 5 year timetable, it's not going to happen. That's my opinion. If they can get 8, just the way it is, it'll be a miracle.
Couch and his fellow commissioners aren't waiting for a miracle. They voted unanimously to close Seagull Street. That allows the 12 homeowners to move their houses further inland, around 100 feet or so, giving them an extra buffer between their homes and the raging Atlantic.
Moving these homes could cost up to $150,000 out of pocket. But homeowners don't have much of an option to just sit and wait it out. One told me this is their last stand with Mother Nature.
About a mile south of Seagull Street, the sea already swallowed 3 Rodanthe homes this year. Officials are urging homeowners in direct danger to move to safer ground. And some, like Gus Guzzler, are listening.
Doesn't do anybody any good. And if you're a resident, taxpayer, and a business owner in Dare County, you see houses floating out in the ocean.
Guzzler bought his Seagull Street home 5 years ago. Since then, he's watched bad storms wash out his driveway and bury 3 of his cars in sand and water. Still, he loves it here, and the only place he's considered moving is further down his property line.
We just got to do everything we can to preserve and protect the great thing that we've got down here. I mean, there's no place to go after this. Once we get houses moved back, this is it.
Guzzler wants to move his home back 140 feet, connect his driveway to NC-12, and plant some vegetation. He hopes it buys another decade or 2 in his home.
Is this just kicking the can down the road and delaying the inevitable?
Yes, this is kicking the can and delaying the inevitable. There's a freight train out here called the Atlantic Ocean. And if you're going to be on the railroad track, expect the express to come through your living room on a regular basis.
In this Rodanthe neighborhood, homeowners dream of more time by the sea, knowing nothing is guaranteed when their backyard is the ocean.
Let's go over some questions you might have at this point. The answers are courtesy of Dare County. So why are homes falling into the ocean? Well, it's significant coastal erosion, and that's caused by a combination of wind and waves, plus storms and rising sea levels. Most of these homes fall during storms and severe weather. How many homes are currently threatened and in danger of collapse? Well, all oceanfront properties located in Rodanthe are currently considered to be potentially threatened. That is according to the Dare County Planning Department. Why are the homes not relocated beforehand, before they collapse? Well, as of now, homeowners must relocate or demolish the home with money out of their own pocket. Many find it cheaper to just wait for the home to collapse, at which point they can then file a claim and collect insurance. So is anything being done to help prevent these collapses? Congressman Greg Murphy in North Carolina introduced in June of 2024 the Prevent Environmental Hazards Act. The proposed bipartisan legislation is still under review in the House, but it would allow homeowners to collect insurance for demolition or relocation up to 40% of the home's value, or $250,000. So, in other words, it would encourage proactive demolition or relocation to prevent collapses and then reduce the ensuing cleanup costs. Now, Rodanthe's story is bigger than just one village. All across the country, coastal communities are grappling with the same questions. How do you protect homes from the ocean, and when is it time to let go? For 13 News Now, I'm Dan Kennedy reporting.